I don't think it jeopardizes a new or renovated high school. I think we really should think about the size of this. It's $3 million a year. Our operating budget is around $100 million a year right now. That's 3% of our budget. Proposition 2.5 limits the amount taxes can go up by 2.5, right? 2.5 million in this case. It's pretty easy math, plus new growth. So this is effectively an entire year's worth of 2.5 and new growth.
Yeah.
So looking at our budget next year, we're basically going into it with a level funded budget. If you assume 2.5 plus new growth, that's going to have an impact. We don't have that much slack in our operating budget, so we're going to have to scrimp and save. And next year, I think, will be a tougher slog for us in the budgeting process. Well, not next year, but when this probably in 25, when 24, 25.
It's going to hit us in fiscal 26, which is 26. The planning we'll do a year from now.
25. So that year will be tough, I think. But we're in a good position in this town, right? We can absorb a $3 million budget hit. We believe it'll be tight, but we can do it without an override or a debt exclusion. So just looking at that, I think coming out of this 2, 3, 4 years, I think we can still do the other projects we have. It just makes it harder.
I want to ask you about how you're going to pay for it, but I want to follow up with Justin first. I was talking to someone over the weekend about this election, and I said the same thing. I think North Attleboro will be able to absorb it. The council and Mike Borg, the town manager, have done a good job of using free cash, where in the past they might have bonded long-term for some capital projects. Mm-hmm. That freed up some money, and the answer to that was, well, instead of trying to free up that money, why didn't they bond for new roof for the MVET school? Why this, that? And I was like, eventually you're going to have to pay for everything.
It's a balance. It's a balance every year. You have to use capital in the most efficient way possible, right? And we cannot neglect our infrastructure. Over the last 5 years in this town, we've made a concerted effort to direct a lot more funds than has been the historical trend towards infrastructure projects. We've leveraged not just free cash, right? We've leveraged a lot of state aid. A lot of the COVID funds, the ARPA money, have been plowed into infrastructure projects. For example, we're just about to finish the purchase of the Fisher College building, which will become a regional food bank, as well as a new senior center. Right, that's leveraging federal dollars to help in our town.
And you also are currently paying rent on the current Council on Aging and Senior Center. So I don't know what that rent is, but that's free. That will be freed up for operating.
It will free up, and it's a small amount of money. It's like $27,000 a year, if my math is correct from a few years back. But it's a math problem, right? Every year, and you have to kind of have a 5-year plan looking forward. We're using free cash. We're freeing up borrowing capacity for these bigger projects. We're gonna borrow again, right? We're gonna borrow for the school. We're gonna have to borrow if we go for the fire station project, right? But it's just a matter of having a plan and marching towards it.
All right, Jeff. They might be able to absorb it. Plainville, how about you guys?
Well, it's going to be a challenge. We've just spent the last 3 years really recovering from some pretty severe budget cuts we put in a few years ago, and the budget is still tight. So 1.6 million for us is a bigger chunk of our budget than the $3 million for North Attleboro. Speaking only for myself and not for the entire board, I think our goal is going to be to spend the next 3-4 months looking at the cost impacts, figuring out, getting a better handle on where our new growth is going to be for next year as well, and then make some decisions on how much we can absorb in the budget through either new growth increase, the 2.5% tax increase we get, or budget cuts that are surgical and not to the bone, and see what's left. And whatever is left from that, then maybe it's half of it, maybe it's a little less than half of it. We'll probably have to seek a debt exclusion, which may or may not pass. And if it doesn't pass, then we get more serious about the cuts.